Hi, welcome back to my decorating series. We're going to go inside, go back to the 11th floor for a trophy room. So we're continuing on our rustic decorating journey because it is something that I don't do frequently and therefore do not have a ton of practice. But I did know that there was lots of stuff to choose from, lots of wood tones, and lots of recent wood tones. So it felt like the right time and the right floor to give it a shot and do some rustic stuff. Now, I will admit that this room was originally thought of because of the Gaston related stuff from Eternity Isle. I knew very specific objects from Gaston that I wanted to use in here, but I also knew there were probably like piratey type things and actual awards. So not trophies as in like hunting trophies, but trophies like I think I have the Dream Snaps trophy in here. There's a couple of other award type objects. And then there's also things that are like collectibles. So I even kicked around the idea of calling this the collection room. But in the end, I end up taking a lot of that out. But I was looking at even the really big stuff like the statues. They end up being too much for this room. But I considered them, and the Buzz Lightyear spacesuit, I was like, oh, that seems like something that might be in a collection type room. So even though this room kind of started out as like hunting trophies, it also kind of evolved to include more types of trophies and awards than just that. It also seemed like a good place to put like some weapon display type things, which do stay in the room. Although I end up putting a ton of objects in here and having to whittle it back because in a little bit, I start messing with a different way to divide up this room than I have tried before, partially because I have these new banners from the Sleeping Beauty stuff and the Storybook Vale, and I'm not completely sold on the results of it, but it was interesting to experiment with. And I'm not mad that I took a risk and gave it a shot because I think it kind of turns out interesting and may lead to some other design ideas in the future. So while it takes up a lot of room, that's really, I think, my biggest problem with it is that it takes up a ton of space. So if I do it in the future, I will probably modify what the results I get in here are. But it was fun to mess around and see what I could do with the objects I had before in combination with the newer objects. And, you know, when I redo the spaces in the future, like, I'm sure that there's going to be tons of new things to play with. And I may have a whole new idea to come in and try out in the space, you know, in a year or so. Who knows how long it'll take me to get back and you know, revamp some of these rooms. But I went ahead and went with that Lion King door just because it's really in the right kind of rustic feel. It's not quite the same, like, color palette with the vines on it, but I don't think I've used that door before, and I don't know how often I would use that door. So I wanted to give it a shot and put it in here. I think that's what this floor is going to be about a lot for me, is using things I won't use other places very often, but also things I probably won't use very frequently. And it teaches you a lot to use objects, just any objects. And we tend to have things we really like, colors we really enjoy, textures we really enjoy, and use the same things over and over again. But it can be really informative to put things down that you don't use very often and kind of live with it and see how it makes you feel. And it might teach you things about how you normally decorate and things that you may not have considered before trying it out. So again, even though I may not always be 100% sold on the results of things, I'm not going to be mad about experimentation, because that is one of the things I struggle with the most for decorating, and one of the reasons I started doing the decorating series I have started this year. So this is the experiment. This like stick partition thing combined with these banners. Now, like many other kind of room dividey things I have done in the past, it doesn't make visibility great. But these rooms are more about the decoration process rather than functionality. So even though like it's hard to see around the banners or see around the walls or see around whatever objects I'm using to divide up a room, I still enjoy playing around with those ideas because I don't want just boxes. Lots of these rooms aren't divided into spaces, and they, you know, they still feel like a box. No matter how much stuff we put in them, they're still a square or they're still a rectangle. So I really enjoy figuring out ways to make it feel less like a box. At least, you know, for a while, I guess. I don't know. Forever? No, it's not forever. I don't know exactly the word I'm searching for, but anyway, now I don't know if you can tell, but I have been paring down a lot of the ideas that I had originally, all the objects I originally put down, because this divider that I have created has taken up such a large footprint in this room. I don't have enough space for a lot of the other stuff, which is fine. I don't need it to be full to the max. It's nice to get to use a variety of things, but sometimes breaking up your space, and I know this is true for outdoor spaces, even though I haven't started doing those yet, is dividing your space can really help make decisions easier because it limits what you can do in the spaces you have remaining. So sometimes it's a good exercise to like put those limitations in place and then see what will fit. And then you can get rid of some things that are obviously too big or take up too much room, or like you prioritize which ones you like the best. And it can be a really useful tactic to take when you're struggling to decorate a space. Oh yeah, I'm trying to figure out what kind of footstools I have. I end up repeating the footstool I used in the sitting area in the coat room, because it's the only one that I liked, that color palette and just style-wise. So now I'm taking the stuff that is remaining and figuring out like groupings. I wanted the armor and weapons and things kind of like that to be all on one side of the room. And then I wanted to have like the awards kind of in a similar area. I used the fishing trophies along with the ore because I was like, oh, that's all fishing related. And then I had to have LeFou next to the Gaston painting because I thought that was appropriate. I also ended up sticking this giant hourglass in here because I mean, it's not really a trophy, but for some reason I kind of liked it in here and I didn't know exactly where else I might use it. I have a couple of ideas, but I also put the gong in here. I don't know why it fit for me, but it totally did. So I put it in here. Sometimes you just gotta follow your whims, even if you can't fully explain why. So yes, shields, swords. Here in a little bit when I go to Scrooge's shop, I actually make a point of doing the time-bending table and crafting table just to see if there's some things I forgot about. And there's the sword and the stone. And I found that in the time-bending table and went, oh my gosh, that would be perfect for this room if I can figure out a spot for it. And then it's an outdoor-only object. So I'm telling you about it now, even though I haven't done it yet, because it doesn't actually make it in the build. But I got super excited when I found it. Oh, I ended up putting that red carpet down and then taking it back out because it still won't center the way I wanted it to. So I switched to this red carpet. It's a little larger than I would like, but it centers better. And that was more important than it being a little bit bigger than I had originally planned. I thought about putting more of a seating area in here, but because the awards and trophies and things were taking up so much space, along with that divider thing that I did, it ended up being just the one chair, which, I don't know. I feel like Gaston would definitely do something like that, where he would just be like, and this is my room. The only person that can sit in this room is me. Not that he wouldn't invite others to be in the room with him, but that he would be the only one that gets a chair. So yes, I needed different banners. That's one of the things I needed from Scrooge's shop. I wanted them all to match color-wise. I put all the banners down that I had just to get a sense of how it would feel. I was originally only going to do one row of banners with the partition, but there was too much space. I didn't like how much space I could see through. So that's why I ended up doing like an offset double banner thing around the partition, because I wanted it to feel more solid. And it works out in the end. Just a huge footprint, really. So lots of red in this room. Oh, and I was struggling with a light over on this side near the weapons and stuff. I think that's one of those lights I'm going to have to think about. And when I do come back and redo a little bit in this room in the future, I will hope for a different light or maybe just better inspiration. So yeah, this is just me scrolling. Oh, I was looking for the oil lamp that I wanted. It's not in the lighting menu. I think, yeah, it's in the decor menu and like the miscellaneous menu. I was really annoyed about that. All right, well, let's go inside and check it out. All right, well, this is getting us halfway through the 11th floor already, which is awesome, awesome. Enjoying my rustic building adventures, although it is still something I do not feel fully confident and comfortable with, but I am really enjoying the experimentation. Whether or not you enjoy the results, I'm enjoying the process at least. Like I said, I think there are some things that this will teach me, and maybe when I do come back to this room, I will be able to do some new things. Oh, I forgot I put the urn in here that's another time-bending object. So yeah, I love the things on the pedestals. I love the awards. I love the Lion King, like lion mask things. I love the fishing trophies. And of all the places to put a picture of Gaston, this seemed the most appropriate. I love the collection of shields and swords. There's surprisingly several, which I really liked the fact that I could put them all together. You can imagine the cabinets on either side of this sword display are full of other trophies and treasures. And of course, just the one chair, but such an appropriate chair for the space. So yeah, this was fun to put together. I really liked grouping all of the objects together. I loved messing around with these objects and coming up with a new way to divide up the room. I love all the red. I love the trophies in here. I actually thought about making this kind of like a collection of objects you might collect from the characters in the game, which is why I have that little box from the Evil Queen over there. But it was fun to put this together and I learned a lot. So I'm looking forward to the next two rooms and what I might learn getting those two done. That's it for today's decorating adventure. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is a great way to let me know, and a subscription will keep you up to date on my latest shenanigans. If you want to hang out with me live, I stream on YouTube and Twitch on Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are. And I'll see you next time.